our next guest has a new book out. It came out about a month ago. Her name is, and I'm going to find out if she pronounces it Tanya or Tanya, because some people pronounce it one way and other people pronounce it a different way. So I want to find out, is it pronounced Tanya or Tanya?
It's Tanya.
Tanya, okay, because sometimes Tanya isn't with an O. So, but Tanya, Tanya has a really incredible book. I was just reading about it, and I have many questions, but it's called Never Saw Me Coming. And you
That's
have a small one behind you, but do you have a bigger one you can hold up?
I
With
certainly
your
do.
book.
I have
Okay.
so many all around my house. Here it is right here.
Never Saw Me Coming.
Yeah.
And it's a memoir,
Yes.
but it's an amazing story. I'm going to let you tell it, but she has an incredible tale to tell about how she did some things as a young person and figured out how to beat the system and
Yes.
then ended up overcoming it in the end. But I'll let you tell us about. I This is one thing that you put uh, that I read about your book that I thought was incredible, because your book is about financial crimes. Well, I'll just
Yes.
say it like
Right.
that. But
Mhm.
when you said that the FBI told you that these are not the kinds of crimes Black people are smart enough to commit, I I was just like, okay, well, obviously you're wrong about that. But that's just so insulting that someone would say that to you. I mean, that's incredibly insulting, arrogant, takes
That was
heed.
my turning point. That
All
that
of that.
was my
That would
thing.
take me over the edge. It would make me, want to do something. Okay, I'm gonna show you. But anyway, tell us the beginnings, your beginnings as a precocious young lady, learning things and figuring things out how to do things. You know, I'm a similar person. I haven't, been in trouble with but I've always thought I could figure things out.
Uh-huh.
So I can relate to you. Let's just say it like that. So anyway, tell us about how you started and how it kept going.
So, well, I grew up in North Minneapolis. I had wonderful parents, and my parents has always taught all of the kids to be confident, believe in yourself, be strong, um, be proud to be a Black woman. And they taught us everything about people and understanding that no matter if someone is Black, green, blue, red, blue, we're all human beings. We never looked at color. We grew up in a Jewish neighborhood, and I had never ever experienced racism at all. I mean, we had all of our neighbors were they were all Jewish that we grew up with, but our neighbors were, Mexican, Indian, just all races of people. And so I was just always one of those kids that raised my hand in school, always wanted to know what the right answers were, and just very confident. And I grew up with my dad was friends with a bunch of billionaires, like the richest, some of the richest people in the world. And they were white billionaires, but they were all kind, very nice. And he used to bring us over to their homes, and they lived in these big mansions, but they were always kind to us. But when I came back to the other side, I was wondering how come there were so many Black poor people, and how come we couldn't live like that? And how come other minorities couldn't live like that? So I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. And I just figured that, my dad was a community man and did a lot for the community. He owned a movie theater, and his whole dream was helping the unfortunate, the low income people, and giving them a better life. So I decided that's what I had to do. I had to help the people that couldn't help themselves.
Okay, so you started off with an honorable objective.
Yes.
And so how did you start the execution process of your plan?
So I was in love with Michael Jackson. So my twin sister and I had to go out there to meet Michael Jackson. Probably the average person would just be a fan and get posters, but I was 12 years old and I was 14 years old. And I was like, I gotta meet him. I gotta meet him. So I took a trip out to Los Angeles. I took my twin sister and a friend, and we went out to see Michael Jackson. And I never got a chance to meet him, of course. But after that whole scenario, I came back home, and the one thing is, when I went to California, my family lived in Compton, and I had never seen anything like that, with people, being that poor and living in homes that had, bars on the windows and the doors, and all that bothered me. So I came back home, and I decided that I was going to help people. And I became like the Robin Hood of the neighborhood. And there were some families that would have like their lights turned off, and I would get them turned back on because it was bothering me that kids couldn't read books at night because their lights were cut off. I get a little sensitive about it, but so I just started paying people's utilities, paying their bills, mortgages for, older people that couldn't help themselves. And I was like the neighborhood Robin Hood. So
Okay, so how did you accomplish this?
how did I what? I'm sorry.
How did you accomplish this?
Well, so I would call like utility companies. I would pretend as though I was an employee there, and I would say like, um, just making up a name, Jackie Johnson came in to pay their bill, but they really didn't, and they would believe that I was an employee, and then they would turn the lights back on or turn the gas back on, and I started out doing things like that. I wasn't yet working on the computers.
Oh,
But
okay. So you were like impersonating an employee.
yes.
I was just trying to, I didn't know if you were going into online into their accounts
Oh
and
no, no.
putting the money on their bill. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Oh no, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. But you had a good objective. Your heart was in the right place. Just,
Absolutely,
you know. Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely.
So that was how you started, and you were able to get away with these small things, I'm assuming.
The small things. Yep. I was helping people. It bothered. There were older people that couldn't pay their mortgages. They could no longer work. They were senior citizens, and I mean, I had to come through. That's what I was raised to do. You got to help, people that can't help themselves, other human beings. So I felt like that was my job.
Okay, and then from there,
Mhm.
where do we go from there?
So from there, my grandmother was a maid in Dallas, Texas, and she works for a wealthy white family. And she was getting older, and she was getting glaucoma. And she always wanted to travel the world, but she never had the money to do so. So I was going to the library. I was learning about computers. I was learning a lot about computers, and I ended up getting a computer. Not in the right way, but I got a computer in my home. And the very first transaction I did with the computer is I sent it to my grandmother in Dallas, Texas, because I wanted her to travel the world. She was getting old, older, and I wanted her to see the world. It was her dream. So I sent her $5,000. I didn't think the transaction worked, and found out later it did, but she wouldn't touch the money. She was like, she asked my mom and dad, who sent this money? Who sent this money? And it was me. But at the time, I didn't tell my parents because I didn't want them to know.
Oh, okay. So how old were you when you were doing this?
16,
About 16.
16, maybe
Okay.
almost 17, yes.
Okay. So 16, 17, you're sending your grandmother money from somewhere. It wasn't your money.
It wasn't my money, no,
Okay. But you
no.
found money somehow through the computer, and you put it in your grandmother's account. Is that what you did? Okay. Well, that was crafty. That you would even think to do something like that. But okay, so but we're still the heart's in the right place. You want your grandmother to go be able to travel, but she was wise enough to know that money doesn't
To
come
show
to
up
you
in
like
your account like that.
that. If
But
it
my
does,
kids are
it's a mistake, and you need to leave it there until the bank figures the mistake out.
well, they never did.
Oh,
So
they
yeah,
never did.
I,
Oh,
I was
okay.
I
Well,
was figuring out some things, but
yeah. Well, not that particular instance. Because the thing, once people get away with something one time or two times, and then the third time, then they kind of increase what they're doing because they got away before. And then the more they get away, the more they do until eventually it catches up.
yeah.
So we're 16. We're trying to get your grandma to go on some trips, and you
Mhm.
transfer some funds. And then, so since that worked in terms of the transfer,
Uh-huh.
so well, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. You, you said, okay, that works. So then where'd your mind go from there?
Oh, so from there, my dad owned a movie theater. Actually, Prince gave his first concert there. I grew up with Prince. I grew up with Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, and Morris
Okay.
Day, and all of them. So, uh,
Okay.
my dad had a movie theater, and I used to go
Mhm.
to the movie theater. He got this new. He was a community man. He did everything to help everyone, and Prince actually gave his first concert at my dad's. I've been knowing Prince since I was very young. And I talk about him just a little bit in the book. His sister Taika was wonderful. But we were all like family back in Minneapolis in the day. And so my dad had this movie theater, and lots of the Black people couldn't go downtown to the white theaters because it cost too much. So my dad created, well, he opened up this movie theater. He got the money from one of his friends, one of his billionaire
One of the
friends
billionaire friends.
now.
Okay.
And I don't know, I don't think he ever really made money because he let everyone in free. And I mean, he used to just do things for senior citizens. He was just John, he worked at the theater. He was sleeping on a bench. My dad brought him in, gave him a room. He was just that kind of man, you know. He was always finding people jobs and just helping people. And so I was like the little cashier and popcorn lady there. And Prince had given his first concert up there at the theater as well. Warner Brothers wanted him to do Madison Square Garden, but he was like, "No, I'm doing it for Smitty." And then I started going out, hitting the clubs. I was a little too young to really be going, but I met this guy, and I started doing things for him. And at that point, I was taking money from Western Unions, and I advanced from the Western Unions to the banks.
Wow. Okay. So then we eventually get caught.
Uh-huh. So
So how will you, and I don't want you to reveal too much about the book so people will,
to
say
buy
they
it.
want to know what's going to happen next. But um what, without revealing too much, how did you get caught in terms of it was just the number of transactions eventually caught up with you? Is that what it was, or was it one particular transaction that was a red flag and then they started working their way back from there?
Well, I got caught a few times. So
So
the
you
fair,
talked your way out of it? Did you you can You can play dumb sometimes. That works. Sometimes, depending on the circumstance. But
But the very first time someone got caught doing something else and had heard, because word spreads around in the neighborhood, this girl, she's got a lot of money or she can make money. And then they got in trouble for something. I don't know what it was. And then, they said we have a bigger fish, basically, which
oh, the turn state's evidence.
well,
And
I didn't have a
you were
charge. I didn't have a charge at the time. They were just
well, but they gave away a bigger fish, like you
a
said.
bigger fish. Yeah.
You
But
know,
I
why are you
was
looking at us when this other person is? I can show you somebody that did something
absolutely.
much worse than what.
Absolutely. So that's when they
Okay.
caught on to what I was doing because they didn't know. And
Oh, okay. So,
well, initially they didn't actually think it was me at all. They thought it was a white man who they were calling the mastermind because they didn't think that a black woman could be smart enough to do it.
yeah, that statement from the FBI was in your book. I'm like, well, that is so insulting, but and it's a shame that people, and I'm not saying that people should commit crimes. I'm saying the part about being smart, that part, you
Absolutely.
would think that that was way in our rearview mirrors, but it's not because it rears its head every now and then.
Absolutely. And that was my fight. So I just kind of at that point, because that was my turning point, because uh, that was when I said, I'm going to have to show you what this black woman can do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I did, and I was fighting them cat and mouse every step of the way. I was fearless. I didn't care, and they weren't going to tell me that. And I didn't feel like I was just fighting by myself. I felt like I was fighting for other women, other black women, other, green women, blue. I was fighting, and I wasn't afraid to do so. You're not going to tell me that intelligence is determined by the color of your skin. So come on, let's do it. Let me show you. And that's what I did. So that was my biggest fight. A lot of people say, oh, she was, the feds say, oh, she's just greedy. And no, I had to show them. I had to do it. It was in my heart. So
Now, actually, smart is the wrong word, even though that's the word they use, but it's more cunning than smart. It's uh, and generally, just generally, we don't go in that direction with things.
right.
Generally,
Absolutely.
there are a few exceptions, but um, that's not those kind of white collar. They call them white collar crimes or whatever. Those are normally done by white men. That's normally who does them. Not even white women do that many of those, relatively speaking.
Right. Right.
It's like
Right.
the this this latest one, Freed, the guy who did all that crypto stuff, and they caught him
Oh
about a
yeah.
year ago, and
Uh-huh.
he got 20 years or 25 years, and which he should have, because he claimed, on the one hand, he claimed he was a genius to be able to do this, whatever the transactions. But then on the other hand, he wasn't smart enough to know he was supposed to keep records.
Right.
So either you're dumb or you're smart. He didn't know what the rule. He didn't know there were rules.
Right. Right. Right.
Claim ignorance. I guess you have to have a defense. But you weren't using that as a defense. Yours was, I'm going to show you that your assessment of me is completely off. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I've done a couple of things to show people, but not they weren't illegal. But I have I I have been in the position where people didn't think that I was capable of doing something, and the underestimation is one of really. I don't know if it's in the book, The Art of War, but I know being underestimated by your opponent is a great tool to use.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so when you finally did have, you know, well, you got caught in the system in terms of being charged, I'll
Uh-huh.
say charged.
Mhm.
How were you able to, why aren't you in prison?
Well,
I mean, it just,
so what
how were
happened?
you able to, how were you able to avoid prison?
Well, I didn't avoid prison. I went to prison. I escaped from prison.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's all in the book.
Okay, okay, and so you're an escapee as of now, or that's
No, no,
that's
this all happened a long time ago, many years
okay.
ago.
I was gonna say, are you on the show from a non-disclosed location? They want to be tapping into my Zoom to see who's on the other end. So okay, so how long were you in prison?
A total of 13 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
That's a lot. I had the longest sentence ever given to a white collar offender in the country. They gave me 24 and a half years. No one else had gotten a sentence even close to that. I never
Wow.
been violent. I've never used drugs. I've never sold drugs. I just used my brain, and they felt like that was worth 24 and a half years.
So the 13 years that how did your family react to all
Oh,
of this?
we're heartbroken, heartbroken. Of
Yeah.
course. I mean, it was very sad for them and for me to see them in that state of mind. But sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. If you believe in something in your heart, you got to do it by any means necessary. So,
So when you were um 13 years is a long time. So how did you utilize your time behind bars? Did you write this book while you were there? Or was that, you said that's a long time behind you. But what did you do? Like did you end up running the place with the
I mean, there was just so much happening. So much happening, and I didn't spend the time straight because I escaped, like I told you. So I was gone. The feds were taking me all over the world, trying to charge me everywhere I mean, they were not, I wouldn't say the world, but all over the country trying to charge me. There was just a lot of things that were being done that shouldn't have been done. And here's the thing, I knew what I was doing. I believe in equality. I mean, I'm always willing to take responsibility for my actions, but you can't give me 24 and a half years and everybody else that are taking billions are doing 1 year,
Mhm.
2 years.
Right.
So yeah, so it was just it. I had to just continue fighting, but I didn't stay in prison for the whole 13 years. That was the total. Uh,
Okay.
but there was a lot of stuff going on, back and forth, a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff.
So did your attorney try to, did you have a good legal representation? Did they try to give you a lesser sentence? Did they try to, have the lay you're you're at the mercy of the court? Did
Oh,
you did they
they looked at me as the biggest threat to the United States of America. Listen, I went to court with Squeaky Fromme, who was Charles Manson's right hand girl.
oh,
She tried to kill the president of the United States, and the judge told me that I was a bigger threat to the United States than she was. And when she escaped, they had ABC, NBC, extra protection on the president of the United States. And they didn't do all that for me, but they said I was the bigger threat, and they gave me more time than her.
is she still alive?
Yeah, she is.
Okay, I know Charles Manson died.
Yeah, he died, yes.
Yeah, yeah, that movie Helter Skelter was one of the scariest. It was a scary movie. That was a segue. But so were you in the same prison with her?
I was, yes.
Okay, because when you mentioned her, I thought maybe so. Oh, so you met her when you all like
Yeah.
you did.
Yes. Mhm.
Because that
I
wasn't she in California?
yes, she was. And then I was put in maximum security prison, and so was she.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's where I first met her, in maximum security.
Okay. Well, your story, you have a big smile on your face. So it must have turned out okay. But it's an incredible journey that you've been on.
Oh yeah.
And um, I'm amazed that you're able to, when you write a book like this that describes things that you have done, did you get any pushback from the government about writing the book?
No, no, not at all.
Okay. I didn't know if they had any rules about disclosures or I don't know. I didn't know. So that's why I was asking.
Freedom of speech, freedom of speech.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But it's, people will still try to shut you down even with that.
Oh
So
no, absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely,
they do
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
So the picture on the cover, is that you or is that a model?
No, 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 that's not me.
Okay, that's a model.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And did you come up with your title or did the publisher come up with it?
Well, let me just say this. So I had a great editor. I mean, my editor is the best in the world, Tracy Sherrod. I,
Oh yeah, I've heard
you
of
know,
her.
oh, she's the
Hmm.
best. If you don't have
Okay.
Tracy Sherrod, you don't have the best.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
work together. I mean, she's just been wonderful. And she worked very hard to get this book done for me. I mean, every step of the way. And she was fantastic. I love her. I
Okay.
do, I do, I do. Yeah, she's been great. But yeah, I mean, we did everything together. And I was when I got out of prison in 1999, and when I got out from 1999 all the way up until I'd say 2020, no one knew who I was. I never talked about my life or what I went through or everything that was going on. And it was just, I just always felt like I was never myself. And so my daughter, when she found out about it later on, when she was a teenager, she convinced me to tell my story. And truly, in 2020 is the first time I ever really felt free, because I couldn't, nobody would hire me for a job because of my criminal record. And it was very hard. And then when someone would hear my name, Tanya Smith, it was like, oh my goodness. So it's kind of like I was walking around being someone that I was not. So, writing this book and Tracy helping me and my daughter, I'm free now. And I
Oh,
can talk about it, which I've always wanted to do.
okay. Well, I wasn't aware of that your history or I didn't hear about it. It could have been more of a local story. Did it make the national news?
Oh, I was in everything.
You were everything. I
I
missed it.
was-
So, yeah, I totally missed it. So, and I keep up with what's going on. I just didn't. I missed that. Or if I did, it's been so far back.
Yeah,
When
it
it
was a
happened.
long time
Yeah,
ago.
that
It
that
was a
I
really long time ago.
yeah, it's been a whole lot of news since then. To keep up with. So it's an amazing story. Never saw me coming. And if you could show your cover again
Okay, I will
one more time.
definitely. It's a great book.
Yeah, who's
I'm
your
really
publisher?
proud.
Who's your
It's
publisher?
um Hachette, Little Brown,
Hesha.
Little
Hesha.
Brown,
Okay.
Little Brown.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. And it's a hardcover. Is it in
yeah,
paperback too, or is it
yes,
only in
audio as well,
audio? Okay, it's an
as
on
well.
audio.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an
All right.
enjoyable experience.
And then
So
on your audio, did you do? Did you recite your book? Are you the voice
So
of
I
the?
had a narrator, Robin Miles, who is the best too.
Okay.
She was
Okay.
fantastic. So yes. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm really proud of this book, and I feel like a new person today, and I want everybody to read it, and I hope they enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to meeting my readers and just telling my story. And I thank
Well,
you very much for allowing me to do this. I appreciate
oh,
it
it was amazing. We appreciate you. I think it's probably you're the first female. We've had other people that, spent time behind
very
bars doing different things,
much.
and wrote memoirs about it. But I
Mhm.
think you're the first female uh, that did a financial crime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
And
so
it was
and we
victimless. I want you to know it was victimless. So I didn't take money from individuals. I just took them from things.
okay. Well, the base might say they're victims, but
Yeah, 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 they do. They do.
but and we're getting close to 700 people that we've interviewed. So
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah. But the show's 4 years old, and
Wow.
yeah,
Congratulations.
close to 700 people. So thank you so much for being a guest on the show
All right.
and telling your amazing story. And never saw me coming because it's in the first place,
Yes.
not her coming because that would be somebody else telling your story. You're telling your own story, so this is it's interesting.
All
I,
right.
it has my interest peaked. So
Well, if you ever want to talk
yeah.
again, let me know. I'll be more than happy.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Tanya, for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. And congratulations on releasing your book.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I am so happy.
All right. Have a great evening.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.